Who was Ghandi? Ghandi was born in 1869 and was assassinated in 1948, which made him around 79 years old. He was born and raised in a Hindu family in Western India. Ghandi was trained in law at the Inner Temple, London, and called to the bar at age 22 in June 1891. After 2 uncertain years in India, where he was unable to start a successful law practice, he moved to South Africa in 1893 to represent an Indian merchant in a lawsuit. He went on to stay for 21 years. It was in South Africa that Ghandi raised a family and first employed non-violent resistance in a campaign for civil rights. In 1915, aged 45, he returned to India. He set about organizing peasants, farmers, and urban laborers to protect against excessive land tax and discrimination, assuming leadership of the Indian National Congress in 1921. Ghandi led nationwide campaigns for easing poverty, expanding women's rights, building religious and ethnic amity, ending untouchability, and above all, for achieving self-rule. Bringing anti-colonial nationalism to the common Indians, Ghandi led them in challenging the British-imposed salt tax with the 400-kilometer Salt March in 1930, and later in calling for British to quit India in 1942. He was imprisoned for many years, upon many occasions in both South Africa and India. Gandhi's vision of an independent India based on religious pluralism was challenged in the early 1940s by a new Muslim nationalism which was demanding a separate Muslim homeland carved out of India. In August 1947, Britain granted independence, but the British Indian Empire was divided into 2 dominions, a Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. As many displaced Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs made their way to their new lands, religious violence broke out, first by attacking the train full of Muslims migrants by Indian Sikhs, especially in the Punjab and Bengal by Indian Hindus. In the months following, Ghandi undertook several fasts unto death to stop religious violence. The last of these undertaken in 1948 when he was 78 years old, also had the indirect goal of pursuing India to pay out some cash assets owed to Pakistan. Some Indians thought Ghandi was too accommodating. Among them was Nathuram Godse, a Hindu nationalist who assassinated Ghandi in January 1948 by firing 3 bullets into his chest.
What was the Salt March? The Salt March, it was a peaceful protest led by Ghandi. In March 12, 1930, the protest lasted in 24 days. On April 5, 1930, Ghandi and his followers produced salt at Dandi, which was illegal to do without paying the British Empire taxes. We would like to tell you some facts about the British rule in India. So when the British Empire occupied India, they put taxes on India's resources like salt and clothes. Indian people were oppressed, they had little civil rights and had to pay rent on their own land. So now we are going to move on to the analysis of the text. So if we look at the sender is Mohandas Gandhi, who was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and political ethicist who employed non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British Empire.
In the speech, the receiver was the Indian people and the British government in an indirect way. The message that Gandhi wanted to spread was to be persistent and to protest in a non-violent way. Gandhi is presenting a one-sided POV point of view, as he is only presenting the UK as a bad and terrible empire, instead of also presenting all the new technology the British Empire gave India. When he is speaking of those who are listening to him, he is speaking of the Indians who are tired of being under British rule and want to push the British out of India. When he's talking about those who are presented as the bad guys, in the speech he's talking about the British who have control over India and are oppressing the Indians. He wants to empathize the fact that this will be his last speech and what the audience should do after he has either been taken to jail or killed. He wants to empathize how the British have wronged him in all the possible ways, for example the salt laws. For example, on line 18, he talks about what the audience should do when he either disappears or get murdered, of the salt laws, and how the Indians should cause trouble to the British in every possible way in relation to the salt laws.
In the speech, the sender, who is Ghandi, used all the three appeal forms. For example, he used ethos when he said from the line 8 to line 10, "We have resolved to utilize all our resources in the pursuit of an exclusively non-violent struggle. Let no one commit a wrong in anger. This is my hope and prayer." We can see here that Ghandi is trying to encourage people to keep protesting. He knew that the march protest would be long, and he was sure that Indian people would trust him because his purpose was to fight for India's independence without using violence. Logos. After we read the text, we were able to see how Ghandi used the appeal form of logos at the speech. We could see that his real purpose from the protest was that he planned on all of his followers, including himself, to get arrested, so people could see and realize how unjust this was to just get arrested for making salt. He used pathos as well. For example, if you look at the line 34 to the line 35, where he said, "I believe there are men in India to complete the work begun by me. I have faith in the righteousness of our cause and the purity of our weapons." Here we can see that Ghandi wanted to tell his followers to not to be afraid of the police and to be prepared for them and not use violence against them.